I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a master's level prepared social worker, and yes, I also happen to be an abortion survivor who is active in pro-life ministry around the world. And as a survivor, thank you. As a survivor, I applaud Ireland for the passage of the 8th Amendment, which was a milestone in human rights. You have so much to be proud of. When other European countries were introducing wide-ranging abortion, you voted in the 8th Amendment, which recognizes the equal dignity of all mothers and their unborn children just like me, something that was lacking in the United States when I survived my birth mother's forced abortion there in 1977. And sadly, it is still lacking there at the national level. You wouldn't know it by looking at me today, right? That in August of that year, 1977, I survived a failed saline infusion abortion. And some of you may know a little bit about that procedure. It was a common one back in the 1970s, and it involved injecting a toxic salt solution into the amniotic fluid surrounding the preborn child in the womb. In my own case, my medical records indicate that I soaked in that toxic salt solution for not just 3 days. I actually soaked in it for 5. I think we can all agree that what happened to me over those 5 days of the abortion procedure and in the days long after, I think we can all agree that was horrific, right? But I hope that you can also agree with me that what was done to my biological mother over those 5 days was also horrific. Every child deserves better than what was done to me, and every woman deserves better than what my biological mother was subjected to over those 5 days and throughout her life. And contrary to how pro-choice activists and the media often try to portray us, we know that being pro-life is not just about being pro-child. It is about being pro-woman and pro-love. We love them both, don't we? And it's sad. It is sad to watch the way certain UN committees and groups like Amnesty Ireland have been pressuring Ireland to vet out the 8th Amendment. Amnesty was once a genuine defender of human rights, yet we know they now describe abortion as a human right. Where were my human rights when I was slowly being burned to death? And I would beg Amnesty to reevaluate what they are doing and return to embracing authentic, life-protecting human rights that cherish the value and potential of every human life. Hear, hear. On the 5th day of that abortion procedure that I survived, as I shared, my birth mother's labor was finally successfully induced after multiple times of trying to do so. You know, that day I should have been delivered dead as a successful abortion, a deceased child. But quite clearly, God had other plans for me that day, 39 years ago. The 8th Amendment is clearly an important piece in holding on to a culture that respects life in a world that otherwise has slipped into culture of death. Unfortunately, I also learned in recent years that it was my grandmother who, when she realized that the abortion had failed to end my life, she is the one who demanded that I be left there to die at the hospital. And I want to be clear about something, though. As hard as it is to hear something like that, as hard as it is to live with that knowledge, no matter what decisions my grandmother was making about my life, I don't hate her. I don't hate the abortionist. I love them. Once again, we love, right? I love them in that radical way that Jesus loves each and every one of us. and the way that we are called to love other people in return. And I encourage you to love other people in the same way, even those that you disagree with on the issue of life, those who are post-abortive, and those who have worked in the abortion industry. We love them all. As was shared in my introduction, even though I was initially left to die after I survived that abortion, somehow there were 2 nurses on staff at that hospital who found out about me. And I don't know how they found out about me, but what I do know is that their willingness to fight for medical care to be provided to me ultimately sustained my life. You see, I know where children like me were left to die at that hospital, St. Luke's Hospital in Sioux City, Iowa. They were left to die in a utility closet. And I know that because it was just a couple years ago that I met a nurse who assisted in that same type of procedure just a year before I survived, 1976, at that hospital. And she told me about how she had followed her superior's orders when a little boy survived the same type of abortion procedure. But instead of medical care being provided to him, she placed him in the utility closet in a bucket of formaldehyde, where he would be picked up later as medical waste after he died there alone. A bucket of formaldehyde in a utility closet was meant to be my fate, even after I wasn't scalded to death through that abortion procedure. Yet here I am today. God is that good. But I do think it's a terrible tragedy that Amnesty openly campaigns for abortion and never speaks up in cases similar to mine, where babies being born alive after abortions are abandoned, with no one to comfort them as they gasp for breath or struggle unaided to stay alive. When I survived that abortion, I weighed a little less than 3 pounds. I was 2 pounds, 14 ounces. I suffered from severe jaundice and respiratory problems. I suffered from seizures for an extended period of time. And one of the first notations in my medical records is that I looked like I was about 31 weeks gestational age when I survived, not the 20 weeks that the abortionist wanted to state. Despite the miracle of my survival, the doctor's prognosis for my life was initially very poor. My adoptive parents were told that I would suffer from multiple disabilities throughout my life. Yet here I am today, perfectly healthy. And although I am so grateful for that, whether I had lived with the expected disabilities or not, my life still deserved to be protected and respected. And I was still worthy of the love that my family freely offered to me, just as Heidi has shown today. Heidi, there you are. In my work as the founder of the Abortion Survivors Network, I have had contact with 209 other survivors, including 2 in the UK. And I'm here today to share my story, not only to highlight the horrors of abortion, but to give a voice to other survivors and to give a name, a face, and a voice to the children who have lost their lives to abortion around the world. But more importantly, to encourage you in your efforts in protecting the lives of women and children. It's so regrettable, isn't it, that in 2013, your government introduced abortion legislation that ignores best medical practice and allows some abortions to take place. But gratefully, you still have the 8th Amendment, which provides important protections to unborn children like me, and which I know you are working so hard to defend. In the US and around the world, people like me are watching what is happening here with great interest. If Ireland doesn't remain true to its protection and respect of life, who will? I am forever grateful for my life and the lives of each and every one of you who have answered God's calling to be a voice for life and fight for a culture of life to be restored. And I hope you know that we each have a calling in this, whether it's through a 40 Days for Life campaign, pregnancy care center, sidewalk counseling, post-abortion ministry. We are all fulfilling our calling to defend and protect life. On behalf of the billion unborn children worldwide who will never have the chance to thank you for your tireless efforts, I thank you today. Thank you for all you've done and you will continue to do so that lives can be protected and respected, and the 8th Amendment wholeheartedly supported and protected. Be proud of the 8th Amendment. Be proud of it. Celebrate it today and celebrate it every day, and fight for it to remain unchallenged. And I hope that you join me. Join me in challenging the horrendous human rights abuse that take place in other countries, including my own, in the name of the right to choose. God bless.